Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How are you guys going? We're back again to talk about Disney's new cartoon, Star Wars Resistance. Now, I don't usually go into great depths about new Disney shows or talk about pop culture in general. Here on the channel, we talk about Star Wars tabletop gaming, but the reason I want to follow this one a little bit more closely than I usually would is because there seems to be a lot of really cool stuff that's particularly going to impact the game of X-Wing. Earlier today on the Star Wars YouTube channel, we got a short kind of teaser trailer where they did these short interviews with Dave Filoni and the cast, and we saw a bit more footage from the show itself. More importantly, we saw more of these awesome ships, and there was a bit of talk about the minor plots and that kind of stuff. It is what it originally seemed to be. There's this group of resistance fighters that have to live on what's called the Colossus, and they are involved with ship racing, and that has something to do with espionage, to do with the First Order, all that kind of stuff. But the whole concept moving forward is this is meant to be very much apart from the core events of the Galactic Civil War, or the Second Galactic Civil War, whatever they want to call it. Kind of this side story where these characters live on this sort of very colourful and vibrant world. The overall aesthetic is very childlike. That's actually drawn a lot of criticism for the show. Which, look, has happened every time Disney have made a cartoon about Star Wars. It's obviously aimed at a younger audience, and people are surprised by that for some reason. But yes, this is very much a kid's show and has that aesthetic. I don't think it's a bad thing personally. It is something that is aside from the Star Wars movies. It's just like Clone Wars and Rebels. Even though you could argue that Clone Wars, yes, wasn't strictly a kid's show, it did start out as a kid's show and kind of evolve into this thing which appealed to the Star Wars audience at large as the show kept going. So on the screen in front of you are some of the stills that we saw in this trailer. We got a few shots of the extra ships. Again, they've gone for this real vibrant look, this really sort of upbeat kind of thing. It's not the typical Civil War kind of very efficient and very not ugly, but very understated style of ships. There's very vibrant colors, lots of cool streamlined shapes and that kind of thing. These are racing ships after all. There's a couple I want to show you guys in particular. First of all, we have a TIE variant, or at least it's a ship with a TIE cockpit. Because if we move over to this image here, we see that the engine is not directly on the back of the cockpit, so it might not technically be a twin ion engine, but it has that aesthetic. I don't think this is meant to be a First Order ship, because as you can see, it has one of these color schemes. It has this kind of wing-shaped decal going below the cockpit. Doesn't seem to be associated with anything First Order, but you can see here in this image that it has some kind of ion weapon that it can use while racing. But what I really want to show you guys is this ship here, belonging to Yeager, who is kind of like the old grizzled mentor of the main protagonist group. And he was formerly a Rebellion pilot, so maybe we'll see him on a Rebel ship and a resistance ship at some stage. Maybe those abilities will be linked, the pilot skill or initiative will change, that kind of thing might happen. We haven't seen what the character does in terms of flying, so no real indication of what he's going to do in the game, if indeed he's added in. But just looking at this ship, this seems like an obvious candidate to go in the game of X-Wing. It's something that's heavily featured in this trailer, alongside the main character's ship that we saw in the previous trailer. I think if anything's going to come out for the Resistance from this show, it's going to be these two ships in particular. Couple of more things to note. We have this red and white ship here. I don't have a really good shot, but it's got a nice sort of streamline, almost kind of like 60s sci-fi fuselage. Also in the back of this image is a wide shot of the Colossal, which is the hub where all these characters live and race and all that kind of thing. And another interesting frame here, there's a ship here that seems to have some kind of TIE Fighter solar panels like the TIE Advanced prototype. Apart from that, nothing like a TIE Advanced prototype. It's got two big engines and this spear-shaped cockpit in the center, joined by two large wings. Just really cool and overstated in terms of its shape and color scheme. Not really like the kind of stuff we've seen in Star Wars so far, but an interesting aside nonetheless. Just as an overall comment on this kind of thing, I gotta say, what this reminds me of most in terms of what we've seen in Star Wars so far is the pod race from episode 1. And I've said on the channel before, I'm not a fan of the prequels. Like most older Star Wars fans, they just don't appeal to me. But one of the things I did enjoy about episode 1 was the pod race when I was a kid and seeing that for the first time. Even as an adult, looking back on that, maybe it was sort of testament to the fact that I didn't like the story in that movie so much. but the fact that there was this really cool aside, this really awesome universe building effect, which has these amazing visuals, this amazing sound design, that's kind of what I'm hoping is going to come out of Resistance. And also the fact of the matter here is we see here on screen in canon a great use for ships that isn't dogfighting. And this has been a topic a lot of people have talked about. Are FFG going to add some kind of race mechanic to X-Wing? Are they going to make a separate game that uses the X-Wing minis that is some kind of race variant? A short while ago, FFG actually posted this image here up on Facebook. I kind of just immediately this double take and gasped, and then I went, oh, it's a card for Destiny. I was really thinking FFG were about to make a pod racing game. That would have been cool. But who knows, maybe we'll see something like that in X-Wing or as a separate game. Seems like a good area to explore as a miniature game, as a board game, card game, who knows. But I really look forward to see what implications this has on various FFG games. In the meantime, guys, what do you think of all these cool looking ships? Like and subscribe, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Reddit, and I'll catch you guys later on.